We're pleased to welcome back John Sarno, President, Employers Association of New Jersey. How you doing, John?
Oh, very well, thanks.
Help us on this. We were talking about this off air. There's actually going to be a lot of news that is being made. Check out NJTV News to cover this. The governor will be signing a bill on the 24th of April. We're taping right before that, on equal pay. What is the bill and why does it matter?
Well, the bill is probably going to be the most sweeping, powerful, equal pay equity law in the country. It's a big deal because, among other things, it was a major issue in the campaign. But the fact of the matter is that women make about 80 cents for every dollar that a man makes.
Still?
Oh, absolutely.
Because?
Multiple reasons. I think one of the primary reasons is the underrepresentation of women in STEM jobs.
Science, technology, engineering,
that's
math.
right. That's absolutely right.
Because they're better paying jobs, is that why?
They tend to be better paying, and that's where the economy is going right now. A major aspect of it is child care, the caregiving role that women play. So they tend to leave the workforce sometimes for a longer period of time, much more than men do. And it's very hard to catch up after that.
It's interesting you're saying that. We're involved in a series called Right from the Start, NJ, that advocates, we don't advocate, but we put public information out about the importance of early childhood, of caring for infants and toddlers and prenatal care.
Right.
How is this tied to all that?
Well, when women leave the workforce, either to care for children or even to care for older parents and adults, they typically do that without pay. And they lose that income, and then when they enter, and sometimes that's for a relatively long period of time, could be a year or longer, and then it's very hard to catch up after that.
You know, I'm curious, John, we've had you on many times, and this whole question of equal pay is interesting to me, because there are some folks, I imagine, who argue, you know, it's just the way it is. Men earn more because of whatever things people want to believe about talent and experience or whatever else.
Right.
That's a crock, isn't it?
Well, we call that stereotyping, right? We call that gender stereotyping. And there is still clearly a legacy of that.
It's hard for people, many people don't say it, but I know a lot of folks who believe it.
Well, wherever you fall on the continuum, right? The political continuum, social continuum.
Is this a political? This is an ideological, political issue?
I think it's more economic than anything.
Right.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that there is a documented wage gap, and there are both economic, social factors, and clearly there is a legacy of what we used to call women's work. And there's an aspect of bargaining that goes on. So there's a lot of research, and our experience tells us that younger women tend not to bargain for wages, where men will more likely ask for more, or at least take that risk. So there's clearly a cultural, social dynamic.
You know, Sheryl Sandberg, the chief operating officer as we speak at Facebook, don't know what's going to happen there, but that's not really the issue about Facebook. Her classic, iconic book, Lean In, advocating that women, particularly in the workplace, push harder, advocate for themselves. Have you actually seen that playing out more and more, or is it just Sheryl Sandberg's book?
Well, there's pushback. You know,
to the leaning in?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, that is in many respects a pretty significant change for any employee, let alone a woman, to ask for more opportunity, more pay. I mean, it's anomalous. It doesn't happen that much. And so...
But respectfully, sorry for interrupting, John, we are taught, men are taught, be assertive. No one tells us to lean in. We're socialized to go after it.
Well, that's the point. That's the point. I think clearly experience, through experience, and also the research indicates that women, particularly younger women, are not taught, if that's the right word, to be more assertive and to ask for what is being given. So if an employer And it's a market, right?
Yeah.
It's a free market. Employer and the employee, they're bargaining for wages. Who has the leverage? Primarily, it's the employer, but it's maybe worth to ask if you believe that you're worth more than what the offer is.
John, we don't have a show a long time, so I'll take this liberty. Push back, lean forward if it's not right. You have a daughter.
I have two.
You have two daughters. Looking for work, dealing with these issues. This is not just public policy for you
Of
in the
course.
abstract. This is real.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
How do you advise?
Well, we talk a lot about self-esteem and knowing yourself and what your worth is. And, you have to be sensitive to the environment and who you're speaking with. But sometimes it's worth taking the risk to assert yourself and to articulate your worth and see what happens.
Finally, tell folks about the Employers Association of New Jersey and why you're so actively involved in this particular issue.
Well, the equal pay law will apply to every employer in the state, regardless of size. So if you have one employee or if you have 10,000 employees, the law will apply to you. I think in addition to, and we don't have time to go into the legal standards, there's a big part of the law that will require pay transparency. So that
What do you mean?
Employees will be allowed to talk with each other about how much they're making. They'll be allowed to go to their employer to disclose what their coworkers are making.
So historically, it's like never talk about
It's
that.
been viewed, wages have been viewed as proprietary information or confidential information. The law changes that, and I think with that greater transparency, we'll have more men and women, quite frankly, having more information, asking their employers for wage adjustments,
Right.
and then the employer is going to have to decide what to do. So what's our role at EA&J, the Employers Association, is to teach and train employers how to deal with this.
John Sarno is the president of the Employers Association of New Jersey. I want to thank you, John, for joining us and educating us every time.
Okay, take
Thank
care.
you, buddy. Stay right there.
All righty.
State of Affairs. We'll be right back right after this.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Agnes Veris NJTV studio at 2 Gateway. Funding has been provided by RWJ Barnabas Health, Wells Fargo, Georgian Court University, the New Jersey Education Association, New Jersey Resources, Adler Aphasia Center, and by Choose New Jersey,